YouTube. How's it going, brothers? I want to talk about tube bending. And I know a lot of people out there, probably like me, never bent any tube in their life. But the need has come along to get some angles out of some tubing, whether it's steel or aluminum. Just so happens I've got some aluminum boats, and I decided to start adding some deck railing, building some stuff, adding to it, but I didn't have the ability to bend angles with it. Now I remembered when I got a buggy about 10 years ago, I bought a tubing or pipe bender at Harbor Freight. So I went up in the shed, I dug it out, and I'm sure it's just like all the rest you see out there. Harbor Freight, typical 12-ton, I don't know what they call it, pipe or tubing bender. So I dug that out, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do like you guys did. I'm going to turn on some YouTube videos. You guys on there, somebody will have it modded out, figured out how to get a good quality bend in the tubing. I need 90s. Maybe some 45s down the road, but right now I needed 90s. I needed 8 of them. I talked to some welders, welding shops, and they were kind of a little bit expensive to bend these for me. So I figured, you know what, that's it, I'm going to go to YouTube, figure it out. So, I slept in a Holiday Inn Express the other night, watched some YouTube videos, figured, hey, I can do this. Well, let me save you guys a lot of time and a lot of effort by showing you what I came up with. The videos that I watched, there was one guy, Charlie Boyd 65, out of the hundreds that I watched. And I'm not saying they were bad videos or anything, but in my case, I'm bending aluminum. It's different from most people were bending. And some of them were doing a pretty decent job. But Charlie Boyd 65, major props to that guy, because he showed me a way to improve my Harbor Freight bender to actually make it work. The die I was using was a little bit tight, so I took one of these jobbers and I basically sanded out the inside so that the pipe or the tube would fit in there better, allow a nice snug fit. And you know, let me just say that the bottom line is, for professional use or something that you want to look really, really good, almost flawless, you're not getting it out of a Harbor Freight tubing bender, period. I did the research for you. Save the time, don't buy it. It's not going to work. This is what I got here. 3 of these I annealed to try to make them bend a little easier, and the rest I just bent normally. On one of these, I think it was this one, and I'll show you guys an up-close version later, but this one here was before I watched the Charlie Boyd video. And you're going to get a kink in there, you're going to get real steep bends in here. It's just not going to work, you know. You're going to spend a lot of time trying to cover that crap up. No good. So I did what Charlie did. I put a shackle on top, put a pin through the die. I used some harder pieces of half steel to cap the end so it wouldn't bend that. And I got what I thought were pretty decent bends. But looking back on it, you know, when they come out at first, you're thinking that's not bad. But then you realize you're going to spend a lot of time trying to cover up the slight blemishes in it, the little kinks in it. I don't want to have to hide what I bent. Sometimes it might just be fully exposed. It's just not going to work. So, you know, bottom line, Harbor Freight bender, you can mod it all you want. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for any type of quality bends in there. But if you're thinking to yourself, hey, you know, I don't need it perfect, but I need a decent bend. Look at Charlie Boyd's video. Do the little shackle on top with the pin system and the braces on it so it doesn't kink it. He spent some time thinking about that and working his bender, and damn, it worked pretty good. Maybe on a steel tube it might be even better. Aluminum, you know, close but no cigar. You know, I sat there thinking, God, I really need to get this job done. And I looked over these pieces and thought, you know, I can work with them, I can cover them up. But in the long run, not going to work. So let me show you what I got here in a row in the progression. Basically the order that I did them in, starting with probably that one there. Okay, here's the very first attempt. I got a kink right there. I got a uneven edge right here. It's more like a V than anything. And I got a kink right there. On the top side, it's kind of flat. Now I'm going to put some diamond plate around the outer edge of this, what I call a deck railing that I'm building. So I wasn't too worried about that, even though the Harbor Freight bender did flatten it out and stretch it quite a bit. It, you know, it just didn't work. I got a little bit of ovaling right there where there was pressure on there. I watched Charlie Boyd's video. And I worked on that a little bit. I put the shackle on the top. The bends were better. You know, still a little bit of work right here, a little bit of Ving, a little bit of pressure here, a little bit of pressure there, but the ends were good. You know, no kinking on the ends with the cups that he had put on each end. That worked out pretty good. But, you know, looking at this, it's close, but it's no cigar. It's got to look a little bit better than that. So I came out, did a little reworking on it, lubed a few parts, make everything slide a little better. Came up with this one here. It's not quite a perfect circle there, but I could work with that. I try to clean this one up a bit. There was a little bit of scoring here on the edge. It's just a little wobbly here. Still a little bit of scoring right there. And like I said, this might work for you guys because, you know, you might not be bending aluminum. I was doing aluminum, which is a very soft metal here. I got a little bit of a flat spot on the edge. And, you know, just some flat spots where the die was just not quite right on the inside edge. You can see a little mark right there. Some flat spots right there. But that was a pretty good attempt right there. I mean, that's not bad, but still it's not usable. That was my best one. This one here, you know, you can see some heavy scoring on the inside there. Same thing right there. This is a fairly thick-walled piece of aluminum. I got some thinner ones that I didn't want to waste, so I didn't try it. Getting some flat edges along here. I figured with a little bit of practice I'd get a little bit better. Then I thought, well, let me watch some YouTube videos on annealing aluminum. Let me make it softer so that it bends easier. So I annealed this one here. And, you know, although the bend was very good along the top edge, it was pretty smooth, minimal flattening. The inside didn't work out too good because this area in here is annealed, and you can clearly see where the die was just killing me on that edge right there. So, you know, that one there, I thought, well, I'm close, but I'm kind of getting worse here. But, as usual, maybe with a little bit of practice. So I annealed another one. Tried it out. Once again, the outer edge of the aluminum was pretty good. Almost usable. I got a little bit of a flat spot right there. You know, I tried to anneal just the area that I was working on. And, you know, a little bit of kinking here, a little bit of kinking there. Maybe I could cover that up. But in the long run, as I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm pretty close, but I want something better than that. Try it again. You know, this is a progression. This is something that I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on and figured, you know what, I'll practice it until I get it perfect. But then I start running out of aluminum, and the results are no different. Some are a little bit better than others. This one here seemed to have very minimal compression on the inside edge, but then you go over to here and it's massive. The Harbor Freight tubing bender is an uncontrollable train wreck for those that are looking to get a little closer to perfection. I got one right here that I don't think I annealed, and was a reasonable attempt once again. A little bit of flattening up on this edge here. A little bit more than I would like. Some dimpling here, some compression, a little bit over here. I could probably live with that if the inner edge was perfectly round. But as you can see, it's not. So the end result is, when you're looking at it every day, it's just a decent attempt with a do-it-yourself bender. So, end result, Harbor Freight bender. Save yourself the money. Don't waste the time. I put in all the reasonable effort I could to get decent bends out of it. As far as steel versus aluminum goes, I don't know. I'm only working on aluminum. I don't care about steel. But for aluminum, it's not going to work. So here's the die that I worked on a little bit. I rounded off the edges. I smoothed it out. It was putting some indentations from the die into my aluminum, so I spent probably 2 hours grinding on this and smoothing it out. I drilled the hole in the middle. That in turn would hold this. You drop that in, set it on top there. I got a pin right here that goes through there, and I got 3 different positions. Locked it in. I put these little half plates from a tube that I cut in half. I got these. These are pretty stout, and stick them underneath the rollers here. Put a little grease on it so everything rolls smoothly. Well, let's see what other mods on here. I think that's about it. And, you know, what you saw there was the best I could come up with. I've had this Harbor Freighter, 16-ton pipe bender for many, many years. I was going to do some bumpers for a buggy, and this was long before YouTube, and I attempted it a few times and it kinked everything, so I gave up on it. So after the Harbor Freight pipe bender failures, I decided I have to go online and find a better quality tubing bender. I like the one from Rug Fabrication. That seemed pretty cool. It was automatic or hydraulic. There was quite a few other ones that I looked at. Some of them were fairly expensive, some of them were pretty inexpensive. The trick to it is, how much do the dies cost? I looked at one that was about $300, but the dies were $700. Give me a break. You know, I can't spend $3 grand on dies. So I got this other one from Woodward Fab. It was $295. Free shipping, which was cool. This is pretty heavy. I think it was 3/4 inch steel. Once again, I'm going to be bending almost 90% aluminum, so I don't need a monster. I don't need something super thick. I'm not bending chromoly and all that other heavy steel. So I got that. The other reason I got that were the dies were roughly about $199 to $295. So a very reasonable price on their dies. And here's what I ended up with. I still got a few to bend yet, and you know, bending tube is a progression. When you get a better bender, you think, just like I did, that you put it together, you're going to slap a piece of this tubing in there, and it's just going to be perfect. No, it's not. You have to figure some things out. I still don't have them all figured out, but I'm getting better bends. I'm getting usable bends that when you look at it, you think, hey, I can use this. And as I keep going and I keep needing to make some bends, the bends will get better and better. But I did figure a few things out. I did have some problems with the new bender too that I got worked out. Here's what I got here, and let me show you the problems that I had with it. So with the new bender, the first piece I bent was this one here. Looks pretty good. It's very minimal flattening here. As you look on the inside curve, I don't feel anything right here. There's a little bit of an indentation right there. Completely workable. It had a little bit of scoring along the edge here. Some little nicks. I don't know what caused that. I think it was the block, the follower block. And same thing on this side here. So as I'm bending that, I'm looking at it thinking, you know, that's pretty usable. I can take a sander and clean that up. This is not something that's going to be a showpiece, but it's got to look really, really good. So that was pretty good. So I figured, well, hey, if that looks that good, I can do better. So I watched some videos, and, you know, they were pretty good. Turns out that little follower block, you got to lube that. So I thought, well, let me take this apart again. Let me grease the follower block and put a little grease in the brass bushings. This was my second attempt. Once again, on the inside, a little bit of indentation right there. Virtually nothing anywhere else. I can feel a little ripple right there. But the follower block just scored the hell out of this thing. Scratched it and dug in right there. Okay, now I'm back to the drawing board thinking, well, this thing is, by the time I get done with the dies and everything, I'm in it for $1,000, and it's got to look better than that. I mean, that is some pretty heavy-duty scratching right there. So, went back, watched a few more videos, tried it again. Same result. This one here actually broke the pipe right there. I don't know why that cracked. I didn't anneal anything. I just bent it straight up and got a lot of scoring along here. Completely unusable piece. A lot of nicks right along in there. A lot of them right along. You can see that clearly. And then I thought, well, you know, I probably ought to back off on the grease. Don't grease it, just use a light oil. And I'm getting better here. I'm still seeing a little bit of some nicks right there. A little bit of scoring right there. This one slipped off the follower block because I didn't leave enough hanging out. And I ended up with that. But once again, hey, that's what practice is for. And then they started getting better and better. So I switched over to a light oil on it. And through a little bit of trial and error, I figured out, hey, maybe I could do a little work on this little block that follows it. So one step at a time. First thing I did was I took the sander, once again, this guy right here with a fine little buffer on there, and I put a rounded edge on that, and that pretty much eliminated the scoring in one shot. So I figured, well, you know, this is pretty clean in here, but these edges are abrupt. So I did the same thing. Not a lot, you know, just a little bit of a bevel on that edge so that it feeds in there smoother without hooking onto the aluminum. Did it on all of these, and I think the result was pretty good. Definitely was an improvement. So as we start to move along here, no scoring at all, smooth as glass, good clean bend. On the inside here, I don't feel anything right here. And I can feel a little bit right there, a little bit of an indentation. Hey, that's completely acceptable piece right there. Good 90 degrees and totally usable piece. So things are starting to flow pretty good. You can see on here, still getting a little nicking, but that was probably prior to me grinding on that little follower block, because once I did that, I switched up to WD-40 on that block. I had no problems whatsoever. But stuff like these little nicks, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there you go, you can see that. These little nicks right there, I can take that little buffer and buff those out. I just don't want to have to. I just want a clean bend, one shot, done. So, bender from Woodward Fab worked pretty good. Got me where I needed to be. I can work with that. My bends will start getting better and better. And I guess my final bend right here was about as close to perfect as I can expect. I cut all the pieces and now I'm going to weld this into a deck. We'll see how it comes out. But just keep in mind, bending tube is not easy. And a cheap tube bender makes it even harder. Harbor Freighter, to me, just a waste of time. Luckily, I already had it in my shed, so no big deal. But you're not going to bend anything good with it. You know, you can watch all the videos you want. Save yourself the time, save yourself the effort, and get something that works. In the long run, if you've got a lot of tube to bend, that's going to save you a ton. I'm going to use that thing for years. And who knows, I might even step up later on to a better, maybe a hydraulic bender. They seem to work pretty good, but even that, it has a learning curve to it, and it's not perfect. I had to rework that little follower block, smooth it out a little bit. The die itself is really good, and it gets me the bends I want. So save yourself the time, the hassle, the weeks, the months of watching YouTube videos, thinking you're going to come out with very close to professional grade bends with your Harbor Freighter, because it's not going to happen.